Mr. Whade Williams, how are you?
Well, thank you, sir.
It's nice having you here. Um, just in maybe three sentences, may you please tell us about yourself?
I'm Whade Williams from South Africa. I'm 26 years old and I'm the founder, CEO of a consultancy called Brand Innovation Design. And our focus is primarily on the development of SMMEs. So we focus on three pillars: business, brand, and network. And we believe that when you have a strong business proposition, and you have a strong brand quality or brand element in your business, and you've got a solid network, structure for your business, you definitely can thrive as an SMME business. So that's what we do there. Outside of the business space, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a grandchild, and I love the Lord. I think a lot of what I do is purely founded on, the principles of God and the Bible. And I strive to live my life that way, yeah.
That's great. I wish we could unpack all those things that you just said because there's a lot of conversation there.
Yeah,
Um,
take a lot.
yeah, it's gonna take a long time. Yeah, but I have up to three questions for you, and the first one is considering the rate of unemployment within, maybe I'd say in the SADC region, how do you think that youth can build wealth?
I think for myself personally, and the way I advocate for that change through what we do with our consultancy, is to empower business. Um, I think for a long time, people have been educated on how do you get into the workforce, um, how do you earn money. But there's a different reality that we now find ourselves in, is the space of creation, creating, being a creative in the space of entrepreneurial endeavors. So there's a lack of education around how to start, develop, and build a business. And then subsequently, we alleviate unemployment. So young people have to get to the point where it's like, we don't necessarily want the degrees, or we don't want the titles of being a managing director or CEO, but instead you're coming up with a solution. And once you're able to come up with a solution for a problem, you can inevitably solve unemployment. So we push businesses in that direction, and a lot of our network conversation is around how do people start businesses, because once you've been able to start a business, you can employ one person, you can employ two people, three people, four people. That contributes to alleviating the unemployment, and it's a responsibility of young people now. Yeah.
So are you saying that through setting up a business and being creative that
Yeah.
we can work towards wealth?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Wealth for me means a lot of stuff. So I used to be in the finance space myself. I was in banking. Um, Being in that space, I realized wealth is actually more than just having cash in an account. Um, it's a mentality thing. So once you're able to drive a mindset, hence I said, we need to educate people on how to renew their minds, how to get into a space where you are creative about a problem that you find. And with that problem that you've identified, you come up with a solution. That's how you create wealth. Wealth is not just, uh, as I said, money in the bank. It's about the mindset. So a lot of young people need to get into that space where you're constantly thinking, you're creative, you're generating, you are evolving, you are impactful. That's wealth. And subsequently, a result of that mentality, you yield the financial wealth. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking to myself right now that as a human being, as a young person, it's easy for me to do that. But we know that in the business landscape, there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of policies that come in place. So I just want to know, in terms of policy reforms, what can we look at? How can we form policies that help young people? Uh, yeah, how can we form policies that advocate for young people, especially in the space you just talked about?
Um, First, the advocacy starts with you making the decision to once again, we live and we it gets us to a point where we're saying actually there are a lot of gaps. And when you say about the bureaucracy and you say about policy reform, it means that there are gaps that a lot of people have encountered, and it's blocked them from being able to, especially young people. We're at that point where we're trying to grow, we're trying to scale, but the moment you get into a particular space, there's policy that blocks you. There's red tape, as we call it. Um, it's going to have to take networks. It's going to have to take young people coming together, putting their minds together, not necessarily saying, okay, we're going to go and change it. Because sometimes, especially on like if you look at our governments, we look at all of these things, it's difficult for us to necessarily go and change it and implement policy reform. It's a matter of just doing things different. And I think our policies are strong. I don't have, for me personally, I don't think there's a big problem. For example, in SA, we have a really good constitution. If you look at the enterprise development proposition that our government has, if you look at the banking system, if you look at all of these spaces, the level of red tape to the access of what people have, that's the gap. I don't know if that makes sense. There's an element of, it's not necessary for us to change the policies, but it's how we implement them in our businesses, how we implement them in our spaces. So it's for us to go and take the needed steps forward. So create a business forum. So I started a business forum, and we educate people, we teach people about procurement in different sectors, in the mining space, agriculture, get informed, share the knowledge. So once you're able to share knowledge, then you can find ways to implement stuff, and then your business can grow. You can find yourself in forming your own type of policies within a structure, as opposed to now stepping back and saying, ish, but the government isn't helping us, or policies holding us back, or we need to wait for something to be reformed. Because how long is that going to take?
That's true. So it's for me to understand the policy, be creative about my solution, and then work around it. Well, that makes sense. So, as a man of faith, which beliefs do you uphold about the role of a man in society?
First and foremost, I think discipline in your walk with God. The reality is that life is not easy. Not everything goes perfect, not everything goes great. But when there's a sense of discipline in your commitment, so I'd say discipline, commitment, honoring your word, and accountability, and taking ownership of that accountability. Yeah.
So, would you say those beliefs are relevant in today's time?
I think they're very relevant. You need to, when you take ownership and when you take accountability, you have to be responsible for that. And when you find problems in society, especially as young men, as men, when there's a gap and you see it, you can't just complain. You can't just be like, there's this, I'm seeing this and that. Commit yourself to finding a solution. Honor your word. Be a solution-driven person. Yeah.
Mr. Whade, thank you for your time.
Thanks, my brother. Thanks.